Well, it's a really tough marketing year for soybeans. There's no doubt about it. It seems like every week more bad news comes into the marketplace, from African swine fever in the Chinese hog herd to massive yields all over the corn belt. So we've seen a lot of pressure on soybean price. I mean, here in Illinois, spot prices are well below 8 in a lot of places. Even with 82.5 cents, that still puts us below $9 for a cash price on beans. And moving into the new marketing year, unless we see some kind of resolution with the trade issues we currently have with China, I expect us to do decent trade numbers, but nothing like we normally do when we're exporting to China. So I think if we have a big yield number in soybeans, which all points are looking that direction, and we could be looking at a ending stocks number when USDA comes out near 900 million bushels, which would be a record for the 18-19 marketing year. So when you're thinking about marketing soybeans moving forward, it's this really tough decision. It comes down to, do you think there's going to be a resolution in trade in the next year? Do you have the space to even store soybeans? Because it looks like the corn crop could be a pretty good one. I'm not a big fan of commercial storage in either crop, really, but at these prices, it's brutal. I hope some people put it in at 10, 10.30 when we saw those prices in, but now it's just a lot of damage limitation. Hopefully you get a good yield and you can market some of those soybeans, right across the scale, but you're looking at really low prices. If you want to store beans or carry out to January with some beans, I think one of the hopeful scenarios is we have some kind of weather issue in South America. We tend to get a rally in December, January sometimes on weather problems in Argentina and Brazil like we did last year. That's not really a marketing strategy, though. That's more of a hope. It's a tough year, and I understand if guys want to sell them right across the scale. If you're going to store them, I would hope you would have room on farm to store it. I don't think commercial storage is probably going to pay itself out unless we see some kind of change in the trade scenario.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we're looking forward to marketing soybeans out of this 18 crop, it's brutal. Do you want to just cut your losses and get out now? It seems like the yield's going to continue to build if that's the way it's going nationally in a lot of ways. So we could be, if we do a record yield number on top of, we've had strong crush, we've had decent exports, but, will we see that kind of pace continue as we move through 18-19 marketing year? I'd like to think so, but to get that kind of movement in exports, we will need these low prices, in my opinion, for it to continue. So if you're thinking about storing soybeans, I would definitely put a strategy in place and pick some prices that you would be comfortable pulling the trigger on and getting out from under them. Looking way forward, if we see some kind of rally in 18-19 beans, if you're thinking about the 19 crop, depending on how much you're going to plant, there's so many variables in place this year for both soybeans and corn. What kind of acreage will we see next year? But I'm a big believer in early marketing of crops for the next marketing year this year. As far as corn's concerned, I still am optimistic about corn. I think its price has been carried lower by the problems we've seen in the soybean market. I still feel like there's space to run. I personally don't believe the USDA yield number is correct. I think it might be a little bit lower than that, based on a lot of the reports I've seen and what we've seen with weather recently and some of the yields coming out of people harvesting early. So I think there's some room to run in corn. I think if you got space and a plan in place to store corn, it could pay off in the 18-19 marketing year. But I would keep in mind, if soybean prices are still depressed moving into the planting season next year, we could see a really big corn acreage number, which would sort of hang over 19 in the second half of the marketing year prices as we move forward. So it's a tough scenario on both crops. I'm optimistic on corn, and I just wish we would get some positive news on soybeans at some time in the near future.